you know there's an engine out there that's hit the million-mile mark and is still going strong? And it's not alone. There are inline-6 engines so reliable, they make the Energizer Bunny look lazy. In this video, we're counting down 10 of these automotive marvels. From German engineering to Japanese ingenuity, these are the engines that refuse to die. So buckle up, because it's time to meet the true kings of the road. 10. BMW M30 B35. Let's talk about the BMW M30 B35, a true legend in the automotive world. This inline-6 engine isn't just any old power plant, it's the heart and soul of BMW's engineering prowess. Back when other manufacturers were cutting corners, BMW was busy crafting an engine that would stand the test of time. The M30 B35 found its way into a whole range of BMW models, from the sleek 5 Series to the sporty 6 Series. But here's where it gets interesting. This engine was so good, it even ended up powering boats. That's right, the same engine that propelled luxury cars was also pushing vessels through the waves. So what made the M30 B35 so special? It's all in the details. BMW used a robust cast iron block forged crankshaft and a timing chain instead of a belt. These weren't just random choices, they were deliberate decisions to create an engine that could take a beating and keep on ticking. There are countless stories of M30 B35 engines hitting 300,000, 400,000, even 500,000 miles without breaking a sweat. It's not uncommon to find these engines still purring along in cars that are older than some of the people driving them. Now, as impressive as the M30 B35 is, there's another inline-6 that gives it a run for its money, and it's also from Germany. It's from a little company you might have heard of called Mercedes-Benz, and let me tell you, it's got some tricks up its sleeve that even BMW didn't think of. 9. Mercedes-Benz M103 M104. Luxury and toughness don't often go hand in hand, but Mercedes-Benz found a way to blend both in their M103 and M104 engines. These power plants have been quietly racking up millions of miles in some of the most demanding conditions imaginable. How did Mercedes turn these engines into the unsung heroes of the taxi world? When you think of Mercedes, you picture sleek sedans cruising down the Autobahn, but these engines spend their days in the gritty world of taxi cabs. The M103, introduced in 1984, was all about balance, power when you need it, efficiency when you don't. Then came the M104 with its dual overhead cams, ready to rev higher and push harder. These engines became the go-to choice for taxi fleets across Europe. Why? Because they could take a beating and keep on running. We're talking about engines hitting the million-kilometer mark without breaking a sweat. But here's the kicker. While these engines were powering luxury cars, they were also becoming the backbone of taxi fleets in cities like Berlin and Frankfurt. It's like finding out a professional athlete also works as a construction worker on the weekend. Now, as impressive as German engineering is, there's another inline-6 that takes toughness to a whole new level. It's time to leave the streets of Europe and head to some of the harshest environments on Earth. Get ready to meet an engine that laughs in the face of danger. Now, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 8. Toyota 1H DT. You might think you know tough, but the Toyota 1H DT redefines the meaning of the word. This isn't just an engine, it's a desert-dwelling, mountain-climbing beast that eats low-quality fuel for breakfast. How does it manage to keep running when everything else gives up? Scorching deserts, rugged mountains, and places where the nearest mechanic is hundreds of miles away. That's where the 1H DT thrives. This engine laughs in the face of conditions that will make other power plants cry for mercy. It's not just about surviving, it's about conquering. So what makes the 1H DT so special? For starters, it's got a cast iron block that's tougher than a heavyweight boxer. But the real magic is in its mechanical fuel injection system. This simple, robust setup doesn't care if your fuel is top-notch or barely better than water. It just keeps on chugging. And let's talk about the legendary Land Cruiser. This off-road beast wouldn't be half as iconic without the 1H DT under its hood. It's the perfect match, an unstoppable engine in an unstoppable vehicle. But here's the kicker. While the 1H DT was conquering the globe, another inline-6 was making waves on American soil. Get ready to meet a true red, white and blue powerhouse that's just as tough as its Japanese cousin. 7. Jeep AMC 4.0 litre. Imagine an engine so reliable, it makes mechanics nervous about job security. The AMC 4.0 litre isn't just another inline-6, it's the engine that refused to die even when its parent company did. How did this all-American powerhouse earn its reputation as the cockroach of the automotive world? Well, here's the thing. The AMC 4.0 litre is a true survivor. When Chrysler bought out American Motors Corporation in the 80s, they could have easily scrapped this engine, but they didn't. Why? Because this engine was just too good to let go. It's like the ultimate comeback story, but with pistons and valves. What makes the AMC 4.0 litre so special? Well, it's about keeping things simple. No fancy variable valve timing or dual overhead cams here. Just good old-fashioned push rods and a design that's easier to fix than your grandpa's lawnmower. And let's talk about torque. This beast pumps out 220 pound-feet, perfect for crawling over rocks or hauling your boat to the lake. But here's where it gets really interesting. The AMC 4.0 litre found its way into some of the most iconic Jeep models ever made. We're talking Cherokees, Grand Cherokees and Wranglers. These engines are still out there, powering heavily modified Jeeps that make mountain goats look clumsy. It's not uncommon to see an AMC 4.0 litre outlast the body and frame of the vehicle it's in. That's right, this engine might just be tougher than the Jeep itself. Now, as impressive as the AMC 4.0 litre is, there's another inline-6 that takes the whole bulletproof thing to a new level. 6. Toyota 1FZ FE. What if I told you there's an engine so reliable, even the United Nations depends on it? The Toyota 1FZ FE isn't just another workhorse, it's the secret weapon of globetrotters and peacekeepers alike. But what makes this massive inline-6 so special? Well, let's talk size. This engine is a beast. But don't let that fool you. It runs smoother than a well-oiled sewing machine. Toyota built this thing to conquer the world, and that's exactly what it does. Here's the kicker. The 1FZ FE doesn't care what you feed it. Low quality fuel? No problem. This engine keeps purring along, making it perfect for those far-flung places where premium gas is just a dream. Imagine a Land Cruiser crossing the Sahara or crawling through the Amazon. Chances are there's a 1FZ FE under the hood, laughing at the challenges. It's not just an engine, it's a passport to adventure. Now, as impressive as this globetrotter is, there's another inline-6 that takes us back to the good old days of American engineering. 5. Chrysler Slant 6. In 1960, Chrysler engineers tilted an engine at a 30-degree angle and accidentally created a legend. This isn't just any inline-6, it's a slanted marvel that laughs in the face of time. So, how did this unconventional design lead to one of the most reliable engines ever built? Let's be honest, the Chrysler Slant 6 is like that old guy at the gym who can still outbench the youngsters. It's a relic, sure, but one that puts many modern engines to shame. Here's the thing. That slanted design isn't just for show. It allows for better weight distribution and gives the hood more clearance. But the Slant 6 isn't just a one-trick pony. This bad boy found its way into everything from cars to boats and even industrial equipment. It's like the Swiss Army knife of engines. And get this, these engines are so tough, they often outlast the vehicles they're in. There are stories of Slant 6 engines running for decades. Now, as impressive as this American icon is, there's another inline-6 that brings a whole different kind of toughness to the table. Get ready to meet the engine that helped build America, one work site at a time. 4. Ford 300. What if I told you there's an engine so tough it often outlives the vehicles it powers? The Ford 300 isn't flashy, but it's got a secret that keeps it running long after others have called it quits. Let's look under the hood of this blue oval bruiser. The Ford 300 might not win any races, but it'll outlast the competition on any day of the week. This inline-6 is the backbone of America's workhorse trucks, and for good reason. It's all about that low-stress design. The Ford 300 is like that guy at the gym who never maxes out. It's all about endurance, not speed. This engine doesn't just power trucks, it's the heart of irrigation pumps, generators, and all sorts of industrial equipment. Why? Because when the job needs to get done, the Ford 300 shows up. Fleet managers and farmers swear by it, with just regular oil changes and valve adjustments. And here's the kicker. There are Ford 300s out there with odometers that look like phone numbers. We're talking astronomical mileage figures that will make other engines cry uncle. And it's not uncommon for these engines to outlast the trucks they're in. Now, as impressive as this American workhorse is, there's another inline-6 that takes things to a whole new level. 3. Nissan RB26 DT. You've seen engines that work hard, but what about one that can party even harder? The Nissan RB26 DT isn't just reliable, it's a beast that thrives on pushing limits. How does an engine designed for extreme performance manage to last so long? Well, the answer lies in some clever Japanese engineering. Let's talk about power. Tuners have pushed these engines to over 1000 horsepower without breaking a sweat. That's like giving a bodybuilder super strength on top of their already impressive muscles. The secret? A rock-solid iron block and a head design that's ready for anything. But here's where it gets really interesting. The RB26 DT has 6 individual throttle bodies. That means each cylinder gets its own precise fuel delivery. It's like having a personal chef for each piston, and let's not forget about the Skyline GTR. This engine turned a great car into a legend. It's the heart that made the Godzilla of the automotive world roar. But even with all that power, these engines just keep going. There are RB26s out there with crazy mileage still running like a Swiss watch. Now, as impressive as this Japanese powerhouse is, there's an American engine that's about to give it a run for its money. 2. Cummins 6BT. Remember when hitting 200,000 miles was impressive? The Cummins 6BT scoffs at such rookie numbers. This American workhorse doesn't just push boundaries, it shatters them. But here's the real kicker. It wasn't even made for trucks originally. The 6BT started life as an industrial engine, but it found its true calling in pickup trucks. Why? Because it's built like a tank. We're talking about a simple, overbuilt design that laughs in the face of complex modern engines. It's got a tough iron block and head and mechanical fuel injection that doesn't care if your diesel is top grade or bottom of the barrel. But trucks are just the beginning. This engine powers boats, generators, and even military vehicles. It's the Swiss Army knife of engines, ready for anything you throw at it. Here's where it gets crazy. There are verified stories of 6BT engines crossing the million-mile mark. That's not a typo, we're talking 7 figures here. But even that's not the end of the road for inline-6 legends. 1. Toyota 2JZ GTE. If the 6BT is the workhorse of the engine world, the Toyota 2JZ GTE is its wild stallion. This inline-6 doesn't just push boundaries, it obliterates them. How does an engine designed in the 90s still dominate the tuning scene today? Well, it's all about that overbuilt iron block and forged internals. Toyota didn't just make an engine, they built a foundation for insane power. And those twin turbos, they're not just for show, they deliver smooth power all the way through the rev range. And here's the crazy part. Tuners are squeezing over 800 horsepower out of these engines on stock internals. So we've taken a wild ride through the world of bulletproof inline-6 engines. From German precision to Japanese ingenuity, these power plants share some key traits. They're overbuilt, simple in design, and tough as nails. It's like the engineers looked at normal engine life and said, nah, let's double that.